Greetings, Reelers. My name is Philip, and together with my wife Sherry and two of our friends, Chris and James, we're Fellowship of the Reel. 4 people who love talking about movies almost as much as we do watching them. We hope you will join us as we dig deep into cinematic masterpieces, and some that are, well, maybe not. You have an opportunity to be the 5th host of our little show. Click the link in the show notes and leave us a voice message telling us what movie you would like us to review. You can also reach out on our Facebook page, Fellowship of the Reel. From all of us at Fellowship of the Reel, thanks for listening. Okay, on with the show.
Are you recording this?
Studying a movie in the mechanical level, I think, can really bring some revelation.
I believe that no one sets out to make a bad movie, with the exception of...
On paper, this should work.
Yeah, this should work.
But I just don't like it.
That's your own fault if you haven't seen it.
Way over budget, start
yeah,
cutting
right, yeah,
scenes. Even the actors don't know what that movie is about. Shit, I wish I wrote that.
Which I love the title, but that movie's trash.
Well, it's oatmeal, man. It's good for you. All right. Fellowship of the Reel. 4 of us sitting around talking about movies. This is The Shining, not Stephen King's Shining. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Completely different.
Completely different. Who picked this one? Whose pick was this?
I picked
That was
this
Sherry's pick. All right.
And you, Sherry, you prefer this one over, I guess, Stephen King's Shining?
No,
No. Why'd you pick this one then?
because I wanted to talk about it.
All right.
Well, it was, this was a theatrical release. I don't think that one was not a theatrical release, was it?
No,
Do we have that rule as a stipulation? Or I didn't think about it till you said it just now.
well, the thing is and I brought the movie cases out so I could
Yeah.
know. Okay, I'm talking about Stephen King's The Shining is basically 3 movies put together. It's a miniseries for TV.
Yeah, it was made for TV.
But it's more faithful to his book as well, correct?
From what I understand, I didn't read the book. I guess y'all
I
have.
haven't seen that version.
That's funny. So
Well-
James and I've read the book, but we haven't seen that. Have you done both, Phil?
No,
Well,
I'm
then
not-
we can talk about it because
Well-
I've watched this several times,
Nice.
and we can talk about.
Well, the fact
how
that,
this
that,
goes.
it's called, that
It's got his name on it.
Stephen King's The Shining, he wanted to differentiate
Yeah,
it
because he
from...
did not like
he wrote
Kubrick's.
the screenplay for
Yeah,
this,
so that he's saying this is not Kubrick's.
or whatever.
Got to be faithful,
called
then,
for
right?
it
He
to
did
be.
both. Yeah, it's got to be faithful, I would think. Yeah, we can talk about it. And
Yeah, I would
I'm
think
sure
so.
there's some differences, but
Well, I wanted to watch Stephen King's The Shining because I knew y'all had read the book or you were listening to it, and of course you can see my fingers on. Chris and James have read or listened to. Did you read it or listen to?
This time I listened to it, but
You've read
it.
Okay.
This would have probably been my 4th or 5th time
nice.
reading it / listening to it.
nice. No, I've only read it once.
Okay.
I've never read it.
It's a fantastic book.
Yeah.
It's good. It's not my favorite. And actually, Stacy had me look this up the other day because she asked me, "Hey, what's his most best-selling book ever?" I have no idea. And I was thinking, guessing, maybe Stan, right? It's this. It's The Shining. That's his #1 seller.
And apparently he was
crazy to me.
really young when he wrote it.
Because it came out in '74, I think. So yeah, he was early in his career. But
Yeah.
And he too had a small child at that time he wrote it. So
yeah, I think to me, I'm a huge Stephen King fan. He is my favorite author. But I didn't start reading him until way later, until 2003, I think. I think I said this before, maybe. Started reading The Dark Towers first, and then went back and started devouring all of his horror stuff. I knew who he was, but he was the horror guy. I didn't give him much thought. But I do think it's interesting to me, his first, Cujo, other than The Stand, his first couple of books, Cujo, Carrie, The Shining, they're all okay to me. They're way on the list way down on the list as far as favorites to me. So I wonder if, had I been, older and picked them up when they came out, would I have dropped Stephen King? Because you know how you read a new author, if their first book doesn't blow you away,
Right.
chances of you picking up the next one are kind of slim. So it's very interesting to me that
Well, I think he's gotten more sophisticated. His early books.
sure, hopefully.
Mean dog, mean car.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
well, the one I refused.
But he's gotten more sophisticated, obviously.
Sure. Well, I like the mean car one. I like Christine.
Yeah.
I like Christine. The movie I tried watching Carrie, I couldn't get past the first few minutes. So I know I would never read any of that. But
and not that I didn't like them. They were good books, but it's like he's got others that like are great.
Yeah.
And then these weren't great to me.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. But yeah, like Dr. Sleep, for example, I like that way better than the Shining, than the first one. But you couldn't have that without the first one, right?
Right, right.
Have you seen Dr. Sleep?
I've not.
It's an excellent sequel to this movie.
Yeah, it's Danny,
I
right?
feel like it's both. I feel it's really good, like both. I feel like it's a good sequel, like a good adaptation of the book.
Yes.
But it's faithful. Obviously, it's a movie, so it has to be faithful to the movie.
Yeah.
well,
So it walks the line of both worlds, which I think is very, very cool.
Really well.
okay. I tried to send y'all an article I found about Dr. Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen King did approve of that script. He said that it kind of made up for,
Mm-hmm.
I guess,
The shortcomings of
the Stanley Kubrick's movie script or whatever. So he was okay with it, but I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
It's cool.
From what I understand, the rift started between Stephen King and Stanley Kubrick almost immediately.
Yeah.
Kubrick picked up The Shining out of a pile of books to do a horror movie. Kubrick just wanted to do a horror movie.
Yeah.
Picked The Shining, and Stephen King and him started talking and immediately recognized our two visions are completely worlds apart. So Kubrick basically made an art piece.
Yeah,
of the Stephen
It's
King
interesting though,
story.
because King had to sign off, right? Like he just said,
They
all right,
bought the rights.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting at. So King was like, all right, we're on different pages. I don't like it, but I'm gonna take this check.
Yeah, right. Yeah, especially because it was what, 70, it was 80.
If
So
he
he's
even
still fairly
had,
young.
If
Yeah,
he
you
even
know,
had
he had
the
not
power.
gone to the stratosphere yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. This might have been his first like movie adaptation of one of his books. Maybe I don't
Maybe
know.
so.
I'd
Well,
have
I
to-
wasn't
I'd have
sure
to
if
look
it's
that up.
that
but-
or
I mean,
Carrie.
not
I don't know.
you have that same experience. You wrote something,
Yeah.
and then the movie came out a little bit different.
Oh,
than
sure.
You thought
Yeah,
it would
yeah,
have.
sure.
So it's basically Kubrick and the film company bought the rights from Stephen King, essentially. So
Yeah.
it was, here's your
Yeah.
check, take the money.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. It's a little bit different because I guess I wrote the script for them based off their idea, as opposed to it being where King, it's solely his, came
Sure.
from his soul when he wrote the book first. Not that all writing doesn't come from your soul, but I mean, like it was all his. Like he owned it, right? He came up with everything, and then I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Like if he didn't click right away, he could have walked away, but instead he was like, "I'll take this check, whatever
He
it
might
was."
not have had the power. It might have just been,
Yeah.
take the
Hey, we're
money or
making this, so
Yeah.
might as well take the damn check. Yeah.
cash the check
Okay.
or don't. We don't care.
I don't know if this is true.
Right.
I found this on the internet. Carrie was the first movie that came out. And,
Okay. Before. Okay. Yeah.
and then
okay.
Salem's Lot,
Oh damn.
which I
so they
watched
had two.
that. That was interesting. And then The Shining. And then Creepshow.
That's another one
And
too. Salem's
Cujo?
Lot. Like Stacey read it last year and really liked it. And when I
What?
read it, I was like, like Salem's Lot. But I think
Oh.
to me, because I came on to him so late, that like I knew what it was. Like I knew, like he hides the fact that it's a vampire in the book, and I knew that going into it, so that ruined it for me. And that's just because it's I read it 30 years after it came out or whatever.
Oh,
I
God.
think the first book I read of his was Cujo, and I read it because someone said there's a lot more to it than in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some strange stuff.
I can't remember the first Stephen King book I read. I've always been kind of around it and absorbed by it. My mom read it.
Yeah.
A
I had
bunch.
an uncle that owned them all,
Yeah.
and but I never talked to him about it till not never, but growing up, when I was a kid, and I remember seeing that. I talked to him years later, after I started reading them. But yeah,
So the Stanley Kubrick version.
yep. Sorry, we got off task there. Went on a
Yeah,
Stephen
no,
King tunnel.
Oh yeah, we did.
I don't want to. It'll become clear how I feel about this movie, but I always thought I liked this movie.
But you do not.
And what I like are about 4 scenes of Jack Nicholson. Yeah, no, and we'll get into this, but what I discovered was I thought I liked this movie. And what I discovered is I like about 4 scenes of Jack Nicholson in this movie. And not even every scene of Jack Nicholson, just some. So we'll get into why I think this movie doesn't, whatever. And so
Doesn't hit your mark.
doesn't hit my mark the way I thought it did.
Well, what about the critics, movies, fans?
Yeah, no, we need to get into the money critics fans. I have the money and critics. I forgot to do the blurb. Does someone have the blurb or whatever?
It's The Shining. Everybody knows what
Well,
it's
I
about.
can read. I want to read.
Yeah, go ahead and read it.
Got it.
Okay.
Wonderful.
That
Okay.
way we'll.
Jack Torrance, Jack Nicholson, becomes winter caretaker at the isolated Overlook Hotel in Colorado, hoping to cure his writer's block. He settles in along with his wife Wendy, who's played by Shelley Duvall, and his son Danny, played by Danny Lloyd, who is plagued by psychic premonitions. As Jack's writing goes nowhere and Danny's visions become more disturbing, Jack discovers the hotel's dark secrets and begins to unravel in a homicidal maniac hell-bent on terrorizing his family.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So something I thought about, and just I guess at one point I was going to talk about it, and I don't know when, but like I guess I want to do it now because the way the wording and that premise,
Yeah.
Jack's writing goes nowhere, right?
Yeah.
The reason this guy's writing goes nowhere to me is because he's not a fucking writer. Like he blames everybody else on all of his stuff and his problems, particularly his wife.
Yeah.
Well, like, what did he write? He didn't write a damn thing in this movie.
No.
Like, he's as a writer, like, and I get it. Like, if we see him sitting there typing away, that's a boring ass movie, right? So, other stuff, very cool, other exciting things have got to happen. But like, I've seen other movies about writers that
Well,
were
it's a
more
big reveal.
convincing.
His writing becomes a big reveal.
Well, it did, but I guess I see what you're saying.
It's,
But I
it's
don't
so
know.
arty. It's so
He didn't even have any like pages that were like of actual normal stuff, right?
Question.
Like, yeah.
What was he writing again in this one? Because, like I said, I watched Stephen King's The Shining last,
Mm-hmm.
and I know he was writing a play.
Mhm.
And that, what was he writing? And was he writing a
I think
movie?
he said it was a book.
A
I
book.
thought it was just a novel because he's like, I'm outlining a novel. Is what he said at the beginning
Yeah.
during
Okay.
the interview.
In the novel The Shining, I think he's writing a book as well. But
Yeah.
he in the book is like he's a professor of literature, English or whatever. He is a writer, but maybe in the movie,
he was a teacher.
yeah, in the
Yeah.
movie it's never. He just seems kind of like a down and out loser a little bit.
Well,
Yeah,
he
well,
says
he's-
he's his teacher in the interview.
Yeah.
In the movie, I thought.
But that,
yeah.
Yeah.
But he had become. He's 5 months sober. I guess that's the same in both anyway.
Sure.
He makes a. We're not going to get into this, but every time I hear it, I shake my head. If you're a writer and you think there's such a thing as writer's block, then you're full of shit. Okay. Because in the movie he's like, nothing's coming to me yet. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So
Well, he's sleeping half the day.
Well-
and fucking, getting up, and his wife's making him bread. Like, he was pissing me off, man. As a
Sure,
as
but
a
if
writer.
you're a writer-
Like, you got 5 months. No, you don't have to do shit, and you can't write anything. You're not a writer.
yeah.
I think you said it best once. And all right, I'm an astronaut then. If you're a writer, so I've never been to the moon, and I don't go to fucking NASA and training and all that.
Well-
but I'm an astronaut.
If you can't think of an idea, take an archetypal character and a standard plot, and just run him through the steps, and it'll be a paint by numbers story. But at least you'll have something that maybe will.
Sure.
There is no such thing as writers. Absolutely,
Yeah, because
no
ideas
such
are coming
thing.
to you all the time. Now, maybe not all these are brilliant ideas, but you're always getting ideas for stuff, right? Always getting ideas for a character or a story.
Yeah.
And then, maybe it fades in a couple of days because it was shit, or maybe it's not ready yet, and part of that comes back to you later when you're able to put that character and then the scenario come up with. But it was really annoying to me that he was.
Right,
and again, that's, I guess, not the point of the movie. Interesting, though, on that deal to me, like, Stephen King puts a lot of, I think a lot of writers, but he puts a lot of himself in his stories.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he was a professor and he was a writer or a teacher. Not
Yeah.
a professor, but he was a teacher and then, became a writer. So I feel like that's probably why that guy had that background.
Yeah, Stephen King is the
Who is a real writer, by the way.
He is a real writer, but he's not an artsy writer. He's a workaday writer. He's a 9 to 5 writer. Means he punches the clock and he gets the words.
Sure.
Now he'll be in a store and he'll see plate glass and he'll come up with a story for the miss. That's not going to win the Pulitzer, but
It'll
it's
scare the shit out of you.
But it's a blue collar, grinded out story, and Stephen King doesn't f around, right?
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
His
and,
best books are the longest ones.
Sure.
and where his idea for this came from, he actually stayed in the Stanley Hotel in Colorado.
There is no writer's block. Stephen King has never had writer's block.
But Jack Torrance does.
Sure, yeah, because he's got to write the great American novel, and that's anyway.
Well, I think
I don't want to.
yeah, just looking at it, the character of Jack Torrance wanted to live the life of Jack Kerouac and Bukowski and all that. Just drink and write the great American novel.
Yeah, well,
Maybe that's his motivation, but in the movie, none of that is stated. He's just a guy looking for a job. When you first see him, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit. He just looks like a guy that's smiling and grinning. I got to get a job.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
That's all it is.
feeding lip service, feeding them what they
Right.
want to hear so he gets the job.
There was people killed here, sir. Yep, my wife's gonna love it.
I'm gonna fucking
You're gonna be up here, months and months at a time. Nope, we
that
need it.
won't happen to me.
It's like, okay, dude.
Anyway, so Yeah,
I think some of that's just the foreboding, right? And I promise you that won't happen to me.
Well,
We're watching my, Late looks at me or whatever and goes, gives you a little side look because he knows. All right, that's bullshit. That's
sure. There's a couple clever moments that we'll get to in a second. That's the blurb. This was released in 1980, May 23rd, domestic. It cleared $45 million. International, I guess it wasn't released that much.
What was the budget? I'm sorry.
The budget was $19 million. So
19 and made 45.
Estimated 19 million, yeah.
Domestic 45, international 1 million 6. So I guess it didn't get a lot of domestic release, not like it does now, and then worldwide 47 total on a 19 million budget. Tomato meter for critics and fans are much kinder to this movie than I think that it deserves. Tomato meter, critics gave it 82%, which means obviously 82% gave it 3 stars or higher, and then 93 fans give this thing the 3 stars or above. And I would have up until the time I started looking at it closely, But we'll get into that, and I know this movie is loved, and so if you like it, great. I think it's a mess, but we'll get into that.
All right, that was it. That's the podcast. That's a review. It's a mess.
And we're done. Here was the closing music. All right. So this is obviously okay. So Sherry reminded me we're going to do 4 podcasts. We're recording these way before the time. We have them in the pipe. So by the time this comes out, it'll be a month, 6 weeks, whatever. But we're doing 4 scary movies for Halloween, and we plan on trying to release those the 4 weeks in October. And so this will be one of the releases in October in celebration of Halloween and all things scary. So all 4 of these movies that we'll release most likely will be the genre of monster in the house. I think this is a monster in the house. I
think this one's the house is the monster.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which requires, as we have said before on other podcasts, a monster, a house, and a sin. The monster, I think, we could call him Jack, call him Grady, call him Lloyd, the influences, the haunted hotel, whatever. The house, obviously, is the Overlook, and I was hard-pressed to find the sin of this movie, so I don't
Being
know.
an asshole.
Yeah, well,
it's alcoholism, it's abuse, mental, physical abuse. That's only sin.
Verbal abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can buy alcohol.
Those things happened before they ever went to the hotel. Was the alcohol, that late night drinking? Obviously, not in the movie. It's not really stated other than him dislocating.
Yeah.
Danny's
Yeah, well,
arm.
I think that's a good point. I guess I detached from this movie. I didn't see it, but I think alcoholism is probably the sin because there's a scene when he goes in with Lloyd and he goes, "Here's to the end of sobriety and all the damage it has caused me."
Yeah.
And again, I know back and forth to the book. In the book, the hotel takes him over as soon as he drinks.
Yeah,
has a drink.
Yeah,
in the movie. It's very similar.
I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but he's very he's more sympathetic in the book, right? Way more sympathetic. Where it's like, to me, we were talking a little bit in the interview scene. It's all lip service. Here's a guy who needs a job. Which, okay, whatever you need a job, you're like he's down on his luck. That's fine. Like that didn't necessarily rub me the wrong way. And then they cut to some weird cuts in this movie, but they cut to his family, introduce them, and then they show them in the car. And like he's like such an asshole, and like he's creepy in the fucking car from moment one.
Well,
to me, and his, you've been commenting about. There's a couple of scenes with Jack. I guess I don't know that I like them all, but like I watched all of them. Like couldn't look away because I'm just watching what this guy's going to do next.
Sure, yeah.
Like he's somebody's having fun at least with his damn movie, and I think he was. But but he's not likable. Like they had so many moments where they could make him likable. And because I guess there was I don't know if it was an interview or if it's in the back of the book, but I remember Stephen King saying at one point, I could make this guy just a straight up regular monster, or I could give him more motivation. So he went with the alcohol, and being an alcoholic kind of thing, and making him more human, right?
Yeah,
that's something everybody can theoretically relate to, right? You know?
I didn't. I told Cher I was going to. I didn't look it up. I felt like I gave way too much attention to this movie as it was, so I didn't. But I think, like, if you were looking at plot structure. Yes, we're looking at the beats, but I think obviously it's going to be a descent plot. It's going to be a descent into madness, right?
Agreed, yeah.
You take a character who's in everyday world and you bring him down, and that's a descent plot. By stages, you break him down until insanity or whatever it is at the end state that is far worse than his beginning.
A negative arc, not a positive. Yep.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't
negative
make
change,
the world better.
descent.
He doesn't become better. He becomes worse. Right.
Right. And so I think that's what it is, but I don't think it's.
Well, he starts out not very likable.
Yeah, and
Is
that
what we're
bothered me a
going
little
with.
bit. Like I wish he'd been, especially having read the book.
Yeah.
He was definitely more likable
Yeah.
in the book.
Sherry, you had said, or maybe you mentioned it, saying Stephen King said about Kubrick's movie, they took a crazy guy and made him crazier, whereas Stephen King took a normal guy and made him crazy.
Yep.
Which I think is far more superior way to go, right? I mean, if he's already crazy, it's not much of a nudge.
Yeah, and you're not going to be on. Most people aren't going to be on board with this guy. Like I said, he's sitting in the car looking crazy as shit.
Well, we'll get to it,
He
but
says to his kid, "You see that, honey? He saw it on TV." Just like
yeah. Well, they
I was
talk
like, this
about
fucking
the
guy. was a horrible
Donner
Jack, but
party.
anyhow.
Wendy asked about the Donner party, and he was like,
Yeah.
"No, I think it's a little farther west or whatever." And then Danny asked what the Donner party was, and I guess it's explained, and Jack almost giggles, like he's almost a little too, and I wrote it down, a little too titillated about this whole cannibalism story.
Yeah.
He's like smiling and laughing as I don't know, he had the glare, and I guess that's set up for what was coming, but
Yeah, and Danny was like, "You mean they eat each other up?"
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but think about it just from and I don't want to go down this road. We've been kind of guilty of this before, but just from a writer standpoint, if they had made him Jack's character more, maybe it doesn't work with her character. Like if Wendy had tried to explain Donner what the Donner party was, and then Jack's like, no, we can't do that. Wendy, like neither one, like she just stayed quiet, right, and
Yeah.
Jack answer. But like as a dad, and this kid's real young, you're gonna explain cannibalism and all that shit. Like that bothered me.
Yeah.
But they had a moment there where they could have, like, if he's, oh no, don't worry about this. Like he could have come up with some bullshit story. You're a writer. Come up with some bullshit story where it's like a happy story or somehow, right? Spin it for the kid. Like if you take that with the guy who's running them down with an axe at the end. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
instead they went with, like you said, crazy already off his rocker, and then it just gets worse.
Yeah, I'm trying. So you're watching this, and in my mind, I'm thinking, in what world did these two ever fall in love and get together?
I didn't
and
think about that. You're right.
You know,
You're right.
anyway, we're talking about Kubrick, and so right
If
off,
I said, go out with me, or I'm going to chop you up into little pieces. And she said, okay.
right,
And I'll never say that again, I promise.
I had trouble finding solid structure in this movie, and I knew Kubrick is Kubrick, right? Okay, so all you Kubrick heads out
I'm
there,
wiping my brow because
Yeah.
I struggled as well, and I was like, all right, well, Phil Bray got this.
I am not as near as enamored by Kubrick as some people are, and so I have no sympathy for him, and I don't mind this anyway. So I was looking for an opening image.
You said something earlier about him. What'd you call him, sir?
Yes, I think he's. Well,
Make a great bumper.
yeah, sure. Opening image. I have. It's actually a fairly interesting camera shot. Because I couldn't nail down an opening image for Jack or something defining for any of them. But the camera, the movie opens and it's a long shot of a long and winding road, aerial,
Yep.
Isolated, and the road is twisting. And it comes down onto the road, and you're almost like in the viewpoint of the car. And then the camera takes a sharp left off the road, like a car veering off the road into a ravine, like a crash. The camera tracks and seems to careen and veer off the road. And I thought, well, that is telling us that we're in for a twisty ride that's going to go off the rails. I hope that that's what Kubrick was doing, because that would be fairly competent.
He probably just dropped the camera, man.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad, but I missed that, I guess. I don't know why.
Well,
I'm trying to recall it in my head, in the winding road and the opening, like in the tracking shot. I remember all that.
Yeah.
But the veering off,
There's
I
a
don't
hard
remember.
left, and it looks like if you were POV in a car
Yeah.
going off the road.
The only thing I come
like
up with is I
Thelma and
must
Louise
have,
or something,
I must have
yeah.
missed it because Lathan and I were talking about the music, because the music starts in immediately,
Yeah.
right? And just this creepy, booming music, and that's one of the things I liked. I was like, all right, because you're talking about letting the audience know what kind of ride they're going on. Like this music kicking in right away is letting you know, oh yeah, all right, this is gonna be something. This movie is is
Yeah.
scary or whatever,
He uses this device, it's been done, and it's usually done in what I've seen, Guy Ritchie movies or tongue-in-cheek comedies. This use of the title card to break up sections of the movie, and so I don't remember how many there were, like 10 or 12 title cards throughout the movie, ninth title card. So I'm looking at the end of my notes to see, but I thought it was like 10th. So I'm looking at like 10 title cards throughout this movie where it'll say fade to black and it'll say a word and then a scene, which I'm fine with. Usually I like that. Some of these seemed arbitrary.
You stole the word right out of my mouth. And it's actually what it's coming I'd made to Lathe. Because as we're getting into this thing, like, it was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then the next one's fucking Saturday.
4 p.m.
Like, we hit 4 p.m. We have no idea what fucking day it is and what time it is, right? So, like, what does it matter? Like, they annoyed the hell out of me because I just didn't understand, like, I mean, there's other ways to show passage of time, and maybe with it's always snowing and snow's piling up, maybe that's the only thing I come up with was we can't keep showing snow outside. Like, how do you show passage of time if it always looks the same, right? But still, like, it didn't. They were arbitrary. It didn't matter. Like, I had no idea. You're telling me it's Tuesday. That I know it's Tuesday because there was a stupid card that went up. Not that it matters anyway.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't.
Right?
One,
it
doesn't
even matter. And then the interview one, at the beginning, like, because that was weird because that's the only one that's like that. Because later on there was there a killing one? Was there a nope?
No,
none of that. And then 2 seconds into it, unless you're an idiot, you can figure out it's an interview. So you didn't need that card anyway.
Yeah, unless he wanted you to not know the passage of time to symbolize that they're up there having cabin fever and one day bleeds into another or something. I don't know.
He wants you to know how long that movie was. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I didn't pay that any attention until I was watching the Stephen King version, and they actually do the dates. But, of course, they have more time to explain things, and they show it snow, and then they show it melt, and they're still going into town. It's not like they're isolated until much, much later, but then they do tell what the dates are.
So I just don't talk about it. And I don't know what like we talked about earlier, I haven't seen that version, and I don't remember the dates, that King threw out in his book, and I'm sure the passage of time is much more clear in the book, and maybe even this movie, but I just thought about it. If you're going to do those cards, throw up the months instead of the day.
Well, that's what he does in that
February, or whatever it was. It was May to October or something, or maybe I have it reversed.
Yeah, but I don't think
show the progressing of the months so that we know, because that's the only thing, like, that has to be the reason they're in there, right? Is to show
first
how
card
quickly this guy goes nuts or whatever.
Yeah, the one of the first cards. Let's see, it's the third title card says 1 month later, so they have a good month.
Yeah,
apparently
but
where nobody's
breaks down
freaking
the
out.
days and
Right. Anyway, so as far as that goes, the opening image giving us the idea that we're on for a ride and it's going to go off the rails, I think was the only thing I could.
it should have been an off the rails card,
Anybody else have anything for opening image, like something you could nail down as a starting place for Jack? I don't know. So then we get this first title card, the interview, and Jack is given several things here. Duties of the caretaker. We learn that this is all set up. The snow closes the road and there's tremendous isolation. And then we're given this backstory of Grady, the tragedy where he killed his family, and it was 1970. Danny, we learn, gets visions through Tony, his little boy that lives in his mouth. And Tony doesn't want to go to the Overlook. Jack is an alcoholic, but has been sober a whole 5 months. And Wendy, after an episode with Danny, is interviewed also. I think there's 2 interviews because the doctor starts questioning her about Danny's injury. And so she glosses over it by saying, well, it was one time and he was drunk and he's sober now. And so there's this setup and of them both being interviewed.
Yeah, because it's highlighting that Danny goes into trances, essentially, and starts seeing horrible images.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even the way they did it bugged me, like, from, like, the movie. Like, because Jack sits down, started the interview a little bit, and I think the guy asked him if he wanted coffee, and then he tells the secretary, and bring some other guy in here, right?
Yeah.
And then if I remember right, it fades out. And then brings up and starts introduces us to Danny and Wendy.
Right.
We have a little bit of them, and then we go back, and then the rest of the interview. Like, it's so weird. Like, why not show the whole interview and then show the family? Like,
I don't.
It just seemed weird to me. Which this whole movie has some weird cuts.
Well, I'm sure it's artistic, and you just don't get it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably it.
You just don't understand.
You just don't understand.
Maybe another cue card would have helped me get it.
Yeah. Now, so that's the setup. The theme stated. Couldn't nail down a theme. I thought there were some interesting lines here about this movie. Now, the dramatic question could be, because the manager who's conducting the interview with Jack says, for some, isolation can be a bit of a problem. And then, tells the story, and Jack flips it off. That's not going to happen to me. All right, well, Okay, so maybe one of the dramatic questions of the movie is, what are the effects of isolation? Is isolation a problem? I don't know.
Sure.
In the course of talking to Danny, when Danny is through Tony saying that, expressing doubts about going to the Overlook and maybe not wanting to go, I thought it was funny. Wendy says, "We're all going to have a real good time." And boy, are you in for a...
So what is the theme of, maybe it could be what you would put your family through to chase your dreams?
Yeah, I mean...
I'm going to murder my family to be a famous author.
Sure.
Could be.
You're stretching out your hand there to Kubrick, really trying to... No, I mean, you're giving... I hear you.
Well, I mean, I feel like that was what James Tolman was in there for sure. Like, there were so many times when he blamed Wendy for his failing,
Sure.
or not even, his writing career that's never even taken off. Right, to my knowledge, like, this would be his first book. He hasn't ever written anything, so because he's not a writer. But like it's blaming everybody else. But like, that was ultimately his. Like, I got that was his dream, and even like can sympathize with. Nothing else, no other job is going to sustain him long term. He wants to be a writer, right?
Sure.
And so I get like taking a job where you got 5 months to write and nothing else to do. But even then, like, that's just incredible and selfishness. You know what I mean? Like, your family's right in the other room, and you're,
Yeah. Well,
his speech is very funny. We'll get to it, but his speech is very funny to me, and I even have part of that hanging up in my writing room just because I think it's funny
there are
shit.
some very good
but
scenes.
I don't mean any of that. But
Right,
it's and it was terrible to her the way he did it. But
sure. And so the other thing is, we always talk about Jack, but whose story is this, right? Because if he's
main
the
guy's
monster,
the crazy asshole.
Yeah, the main guy is the monster, or at least part of the monster mechanism.
Gotta be Danny then, yeah.
Then it's either Danny or Wendy, right?
I would think it would just be the hotel. Hotel is the main character. That's my point of view from it.
Yeah, no, the hotel
Not the main bad guy, but the main character.
Yeah, it's the main. It's a story of the hotel. It's just one of the many tragedies that has happened, and this is just one highlighted coming through it. That's just my point of view on it. Again, from reading the book, there's a whole lot of history that's not even touched in the movie.
Sure, no, I guess I could see that if it had been done like an anthology where it's a bunch of short stories all taking place in the hotel.
Okay,
but even then, you're gonna have, I guess, I feel like a main character in each of those stories.
Well, I have a question. Talking about the hotel, at the end they show that. I'm just going to talk about the very, very end, where they show the picture and there's Jack Nicholson in time. I mean, is it like he was there all along and they just kind of...
Well, we could get to it, but...
Yeah, that's what they highlighted at, because, what is it, Grady, when he's the butler?
You've always been here.
You've always been the caretaker.
So I'm trying to... And Kubrick is going to... I don't know... I can't speak for him, but I guarantee he is going to resist the 3-act structure. He is not going to be inclined... He's going to think that's mundane. I guarantee he's going to think that's mundane and
shackles, right?
And pedestrian.
These artsy guys.
Yes.
The 3-act structures is too much shackles on me and my creativity.
Because
which is bullshit. But
one way to look at this is, if Jack Torrance has always been there, you've always been here, you've always been the caretaker. It's the story of whatever is possessing Jack Torrance, or it's the journey of whatever Jack is back to the Overlook, right? Because obviously he was there, and then
what do you mean? I'm losing you. Sorry.
Okay, so in 1921 he's at this 4th of July party in the picture. He's always been there, but
he got out, left somehow, and had a family.
The whatever's possessing Jack, or the character, whatever this guy is, got separated from the Overlook, and because he'll say things like, I feel like I've been here before.
Yeah, that's what he told Wendy.
I feel like I've been here. I love it here. I never want to leave. This is the best place I've ever been.
Right. He's the only one having a good time.
Yeah. I don't see it that way. I see it as the hotel seducing him slowly. And it's like, I just feel comfortable here. I feel like I've been here before. It's the hotel slowly seeping into him. So at the end, the hotel absorbs him.
Yep, no, that's the way I took it. It was slowly turning him and seducing him. Because again, in the book, he starts off as a decent guy. He was an alcoholic and he hurt his kid.
Yeah.
But he's been sober, trying to turn it around, and he's probably fucking got evidence of being an actual writer in the book too. But anyhow, I'll stop beating that horse eventually. But yeah, I think the hotel like you said, James, seduces him, and then and 100% I think the picture he has now become part of the hotel.
Yeah, but that's 1921. So he was there before, or the hotel just that's a
No.
lie, and they just
It's
made
a lie.
Yeah, I think
okay.
that's
The hotel is now presenting this photo
Okay.
to you.
All right.
And to go back to a little bit of the weird stuff in Kubrick's version of stuff appearing and disappearing in scenes, that plays into the fact of the hotel is the main character.
Okay.
It is changing and warping the viewpoint of the characters. And that's where he just loses his mind and is absorbed.
Yeah,
with himself.
because Grady will talk about I and the others are losing confidence in you. And
Yeah, right.
who is I? And so I thought it was like, are these demons? Are these
Everybody in that damn picture.
It's the hotel.
You know?
It's
or
the
the
hotel.
Yeah.
Because in the next book, Dr. Sleep, The Shining or The Shine or whatever is so powerful that what's her name? The Hat? Grace? Rose the Hat. They're like energy vampires, and they go around, and if you have the shine, they'll suck the life out of you. And be, so
like,
the
to me, like genius idea for like bad guys.
So the
Like, take people
hotel,
who have the shine and make them evil. Like that's really cool.
okay? All
the
right.
hotel is kind of a different breed of that thing. It wants shining, and when Danny comes along with his superpower shining, the hotel really comes to life.
Because Dick even explains it that like people, he said the hotel has a bit of shine or whatever. Like
Yeah, you can see it. It's like seeing pictures and all that, and now the pictures are hurting people.
Well, that makes sense because I was trying to figure out the story, and I began to dawn on me. Well, this is not Jack's story necessarily. It is, I guess, him being seduced by the hotel. But like, if you're looking for and he changes, I guess, from crazy to crazier. But Wendy, I guess, and Danny are the ones that, like, who's the protagonist, right? Well, it can't be Jack unless you're pulling for him and it's the descent. But I think Wendy and Danny are the ones fighting against the antagonist, right? And so it's got to be.
I mean, on one level, it's a lady getting out of an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, she eventually fights back to him. Like I got the feeling she'd never fought back before.
No, she's no, absolutely
Yeah.
not.
So she fights back finally and gets and literally has to run and escape from this guy. Yeah. She had a guy who was an alcoholic and abused the kid once.
Yeah.
And been 5 months sober, and like I don't even think you get anything at 5 months. And I don't mean to knock anyone that's been 5 months sober.
No.
Like obviously it's a long, hard journey, and you got to start somewhere. But I guess I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
They
but
couldn't make it like longer.
But I don't think, and I can't speak to it, but I don't think even Alcoholics Anonymous may not encourage you to take on a stress level position like that if you've only been 5 months.
5 months sober. Sure.
I would feel like a responsible sponsor would be like,
Well, that's just it. You got to keep part of it. My understanding is you got to keep in touch with your sponsor.
Well,
They gotta be there for you. So if he isolates himself, he just didn't even have a sponsor.
Right. And in Stephen King's The Shining, there is an effort for him to call meetings, and there's more attention to the real world aspect of what it means.
Yeah. In the book as well, he does have a guy that actually his sponsor is the guy that got him that job.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I forgot that. Nice.
Well, I found something about the true theme and meaning behind the story from Stephen King.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's do that.
Stephen King. It said it's a little known fact. This is The Shining is actually kind of an autobiography about Stephen King.
Yeah.
Because he had his own struggles with alcoholism, which I didn't know. And it deteriorated his mental state.
Yeah, sure.
So the theme of Jack being a sympathetic character who spirals into madness from alcohol and the supernatural is central to The Shining. The fact that Kubrick largely brushed aside these details greatly changes the true theme and meaning behind the story.
Yeah. Right. Because he wanted to be artsy.
Yeah. No, and that could be another reason why, like, maybe King, like, took it as a, almost, I don't want to call it an insult, but like why he doesn't, because like if he put these real struggles that he had into this character, and then this guy, this artsy fucker comes along and brushes them aside, right? Well, then, man, you just ripped the heart out of what I'm trying to write here. You know, I mean, in a way,
I think Kubrick wants to be associated with like Bukowski and Kerouac, like James was saying, right? Because I'm always looking for things in scenes, right? Well, there's a scene where Wendy is sitting and Danny's eating his cereal, and Wendy's reading a book. Well, of course, my eyes focused right in on what book she was reading.
Yep.
Well, it's The Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, she was reading it in the apartment before they left, too.
Yes, Catcher in the Rye. So Kerouac, and I'm like, okay, well...
Could have had a reading of Stephen King there, buddy. But anyhow.
Well, but Catcher in the Rye, obviously very notorious novel. banned and all this notoriety about it, and it's hailed as a piece of art and this kind of thing. I think Kubrick is like, on some level, he thinks that he's in that realm, And so I looked up Catcher in the Rye because I never read it. I think I did read it in school.
Shocking, Phil.
We were assigned it once, and I read it in art, whatever.
James, you ever read it? Anybody ever read it?
I think I read it once.
I never read it.
I think I read it. We had to read it for school once to make a report.
No, I never read it.
Anyway, so I looked it up. Themes of angst and alienation, and as a critique of superficiality in society. The novel deals with complex issues of innocence, identity, belonging, loss, connection, sex, and depression, which I guess are all in this Shining movie. But is Kubrick is he just trying to take a shortcut? Hey, my movie's going to be the same themes as why have her reading Catcher in the Rye? I guess is my question, and I never got an answer on that.
I never caught that that's what she was reading.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, okay, well, because I wanted to give him a chance. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have a character read a book, it should mean something.
Well,
even if it's like in Stranger Things, there's a lot, like almost all the characters I feel like are always reading like a Stephen King book because the show very much is an homage to his type of stuff. So, like even if it's just something like that, like it can't just be any old book, right? It should have something.
And we talked about this, and you can listen to it on the Breakfast Club. But John Hughes did this much more with much greater finesse when he had them tearing up the book by Moyer or whatever.
Yeah.
Comedies that point out injustice in society or whatever. It brilliantly done to the point where you can look at that and say, yes, that's what's going on here.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to me. I just not thought about it.
I don't think necessarily that we get any strong signals from her reading Catcher in the Rye and then how it relates to this movie.
Well, like the script for this movie was by Kubrick and then Diane something. I don't remember.
I forgot to write it down, yeah.
Hang on, I got it.
Much as I'm ragging about writers.
Diane Johnson.
Thank you. Couldn't remember her name. Anyhow, so be willing to bet Diane did most of the heavy lifting. Because Kubrick, I don't know, he's probably not that much of a writer. I may be wrong. Where like John Hughes very much is, right?
Yeah.
Writer and director. And it just, I don't know, it just kind of blows my mind that like, no, I'm thinking about it. And I know this is early in Stephen King's career, but there's only been he's already had some hit books. He's had some hit movies made from these hit books. So instead of like taking the blueprint that this writer gave you, a successful writer, you change it, right? And kind of just come up with your own themes and your own stuff.
He's Kubrick, man.
That's just crazy to me.
Yeah,
like, I can do better. What?
Yeah.
Anyhow.
There is not a Kubrick movie on this. I have a little bit of hope for Dr. Strangelove. Okay, I remember liking that movie.
Never seen it.
I'll probably go back and watch it and be like, oh my God, okay.
Clockwork Orange is not your thing?
No. I know what that's about, and I'm not.
Clockwork Orange? Whew.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Let me mention the first time I saw The Shining, or his Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, I checked it out of the college library where we went, where I worked.
Yeah.
And I was like, why do they have this? Well, they had Clockwork Orange and all that.
Art.
And I'm like, okay.
Only the best people watch these, yeah.
Yeah. In 2001. So
don't get me wrong, Stanley Kubrick makes some beautiful looking movies. They're shot really well. The colors are very vivid. Everything is.
I use color film. Great.
I mean,
it was in colors, James.
It's in focus.
He can set up some shots.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
We learned that in film school, I bet. Yeah.
Possibly, but there's a lot of.
I don't give him that. How much directing you to give Jack? I don't know.
He lets every single scene that's shot breathe more than normal. More
than necessary, I would say. But yes, he does allow him to breathe. So, there are some directors who cut that shit quick.
If you take a breath and you go along with this movie, it's still 2.5 hours long, and there's some long stretches. No, this movie.
Just 2.5.
But just Stanley Kubrick in general.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I looked it up because I was like, hey, this movie's 2.5. We got to get started, buddy.
In general, though, the way that he shoots, they're beautiful movies. And
damn, I don't remember it being 2.5.
Oh, yeah, it's long.
That's because you fell asleep in the middle.
Probably. Yeah.
But yeah, just talking about giving the scenes, room to breathe. Like, there were just so many, like, these long, awkward pauses. Like, it was so much of like, Leith noticed, too. He was like, what's going on? Why are they just standing there? Like, I don't know how many times he said that. Why are they just sitting there?
But it's allowing the music to make you uncomfortable, the staring at Jack Nicholson's eyebrows.
No, I hear you.
I was never bored in this one. I enjoyed every minute of it. I didn't fall asleep to get tired.
I was never bored. I wouldn't say I was bored. Never bored. Even with the longer scenes and the longer movie. Like, I was never bored. It was just, I started off enjoying it. I remember it was all right the first time I saw it. And I started off enjoying it more this time, and then it lost me along the way. Like, especially in the middle, and then it picked back up at the end when he's, of course,
sure,
when he's trying
yeah.
to kill him.
I got
It's
to
like,
I got to the point where I was just enjoying Jack Nicholson's performance.
No,
That's what I was
absolutely.
gonna
That's
say.
what I was,
Yeah.
that was in the
So
middle. That was like the only thing I was holding
Right.
on to, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on, we get to our second title card, Closing Day, and reference to the Donner Party on the way out that we talked about. Like I said, Jack seems a little too titillated by this reference. More of Danny's gifts, a vision of the sisters, first appearance of the sisters,
Yep.
a tour of the grounds with reference to all things the hotel. Maybe this became a cliche later. The hotel's on Indian burial grounds, right? Okay, I guess back then it was still a thing, but now, oh my God, that's a. If you're a writer, do not put.
You moved the headstones.
Yeah.
You didn't move the graves.
Let me scratch that idea.
Yeah,
real
take
quick.
that right out of your story. If that's come
Yeah,
on.
in the book, to go into a little bit more, it was a high society thing.
Yeah.
Mobsters were murdered there.
Yeah, sure.
Socialites. The lady in the bathtub was a socialite, and the whole thing. So like every ghost, when they were walking through the hallway, the two guys in the room with
Yeah.
the teddy bear costume. In the book, they're all kind of explained, but that's why I lean towards the hotel just
Yeah.
absorbing everybody because they're all still there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Leith didn't realize, like he kind of knew, I guess, about the movie. Like we didn't watch a trailer or anything. So it was interesting to me. Like he didn't realize when the girls first showed up, he thought they were guests. So I just left it alone.
Yeah,
I
sure.
was like, all right, he'll find out soon enough. But like he thought there were other guests in
Yeah.
the thing. Like he missed it that they were taking. I guess he missed that they were taking over for the winter and
Yeah.
just the family. I thought they were guests. There was somebody else that you see that he thought was there too. And I was like, all right.
Speaking of the twins,
Yeah.
my favorite way to freak Philip out is to, when it's dark or whatever, I say, "Come play with us, Dan."
Yeah, whatever.
Nice. I didn't notice this, but the first time, when they're all meeting in the lobby, they're arriving.
Yeah.
They've got so much luggage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They
Leith
have
noticed.
They
He's
have a
like, "God, that's a lot of
Volkswagen
luggage."
Beetle.
yeah.
Yeah.
How did that all fit?
Yeah,
in the
I don't know.
Beetle? And the other thing was when Danny's playing darts and those girls come walking in.
Yeah.
I think that was the hotel coming, like one of the pictures coming into live to come check out this
The special kid.
special shining
Oh, maybe
battery
not.
that's
Yeah.
gonna liven up the hotel.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kubrick and his wonderful camera work, the zoom in on Danny when he turns to look at the girls was god awful in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Well,
You
Like
just
it was-
don't get it, man.
you don't
right? Maybe I don't get it. I was just like, yeah, Lathan, I was like, whoa, what happened there?
yeah.
You know, it just nothing subtle about it. Right in his
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The whole movie was meant to
Jarring.
make you uncomfortable.
No, no,
all
right.
the way around.
And,
It does in a lot of places in the right way, and then I think it does in a lot of wrong ways too.
Yeah.
But-
we meet Dick, the head chef, with gifts like Danny. The two discuss the gift. Tony wants his secrets kept. Like Tony doesn't want to talk too much, doesn't want to reveal too much. Danny doesn't want to talk about Tony. And then we get this ominous foreshadowing of room 237, where they talk. You scared of room
I
237?
thought the setup of Doc was. I'm pretty sure that was lifted from the book. Correct me
Yeah.
if I'm wrong, James. So, so the bit of dialogue that I really liked was lifted from the book, anyways. But just the setting up of Doc and his staff, because Dick, the chef, calls him Doc.
Yes.
And when he's like, "Hey, how'd you call him? How'd you not call him Doc?" And he's like, "Oh, I must have heard you or whatever." And she's like, "Pretty sure I didn't say it," you know.
Right.
But and,
No, I
and
thought that
as
was
the
all right.
audience, you're like, "No, they didn't. This is the first we're hearing this." you know?
Yeah,
So
right.
I thought that was well done.
Yeah.
Like well played by the actors, and
No, absolutely.
I like the reveal and the dialogue, but again, I think that was all probably King's anyways. But
Sure. That's the second title card. The third title card is 1 month later. So I guess they have a month where everything is going fine.
Mhm.
Seemingly everything in order. Breakfast in bed. Wendy's bringing Jack breakfast in bed. Jack loves the Overlook more than any other place he's been. Feels he's been here before.
Yeah.
But he's maybe experiencing some writer's block, and I always shake my head when I hear that.
yeah, but I said I would stop. So it's been a month,
Yeah.
right? And she asked him when she brings him breakfast in bed, anything yet? Nothing yet. You've had a month, man,
Yeah.
to do nothing. Phil, if you and I had a month to sit down and write, how much stuff would we come up with?
Well,
Where we had nothing else, no other responsibilities, not even a family, because this guy, man,
yeah. Well, like I
fucking
said,
hell, man. Most writers would kill for that kind of time, you know?
He
Yeah,
does.
If you're not a
He
full-time
does.
writer.
Jack Torrance does.
Well, I was
Choice of
thinking
words,
throughout
very
this,
good, James. Poor choice of words.
I was thinking throughout this whole movie, Philip would like to go be isolated
I
in
thought the
some
same thing.
hotel, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh no!"
Damn. I was
Like,
That
is this a documentary of Phil going to the hotel?
Oh my
So I
god.
watched,
This
one,
is
so I
not
watched a
something-
movie about a guy going mad, and you immediately thought of Phil. That's fucked up.
no, no. Well,
About going up
no.
to the mountains for 5 months just to write sounds
No, but
like
the way
something
you,
Phil-
the
That
way
sounds
you
like
like
something he
people,
would
sure.
do.
Yeah, well,
but not me.
Well,
I need to be.
Yeah, I think any introvert would enjoy
public.
this, would be okay for this job, where an extrovert would go nuts, right?
Right.
So they should have.
And you add the snow, and I am out.
Yeah,
no.
fucking bunch of snow. But they should have had like a personality test for the interview, right? To see
Well, I
if you're an
think they're
introvert or
desperate.
extrovert.
I think they were pretty desperate. Like, who's
for sure.
Who's
Yeah,
lining
yeah.
up to take this?
Yeah, who's lining to take that up? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, one with Wendy and Danny are running through the maze, enjoying the maze, and then we cut to Jack. I said Jack seems to be in a maze of his own. So we got this Wendy and Danny in the maze, and then Jack, I think, is in some kind of catatonic state at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that the shot where he's looking out the window
Yeah.
like a psychopath?
Yes.
And then he looks down at the
Yes,
makeup of the maze, and then
yes.
it cuts to them.
Yeah.
I felt like that was set up. Didn't think about it till later, but like, so he doesn't go, right? She's like, come outside with us, and he's like, nah, I got writing to do, liar.
Yeah.
So they go and do they're out in the maze.
Yes.
Later on, the boy runs to the maze
Yes.
to lose him, and
Yes.
Jack gets lost in there. I feel like that's set up. You didn't go earlier, buddy. Now you're
Well,
lost. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I had made mention
Looking at
of
that
that
model the whole time.
Yeah, right.
because obviously, even if you've been through the maze, it'd still be
But it
difficult.
would still suck. Yeah.
But I think so. My question was, Danny, bright kid or whatever, he must have memorized. He had to have memorized the out of that maze because he knew he was leading Jack deep into that maze.
Yeah, and then he even
Well,
does
he
the cool
followed
thing where he
his footsteps
backtracks on
back
his
out.
steps. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He walks backwards on his
Yes.
steps, which is very
So
cool.
he
Still
knows
very smart for a 5-year-old.
he's
Right.
4 years old.
Right.
This kid was 4 years old when he made this movie, which
I
blows my
think that's what I heard, but I looked it up and it said 5. So
Oh.
same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 or 5. Yeah, that's.
So the
Still
kid
really
actually
young.
did an amazing job. Yeah.
I'm running around that maze. I'm not going to walk backwards through my tracks. You know?
Especially, yeah.
Yeah,
Not in the
8:40,
snow.
so-
Right.
Yeah.
Fourth title card, Tuesday.
Just an
Now I know where
arbitrary
we're at.
Tuesday.
Cool.
So it's been a
Thank
month
God.
and a Tuesday. I don't know.
Tuesday. How many Tuesdays since that month?
A storm is coming.
Ridiculous.
Danny sees room 237 and another vision of the sisters. These are Grady's daughters, I guess. Jack is writing, so he's actually typing on the typewriter at this point. Now, we don't know what he's typing. It's revealed later what he is, but yeah, Tuesday.
I do think I'm going to commit to this. I think he thought he was writing a story. Like I don't
That's
think
what
he
I
knew
wondered.
what the fuck was
Probably
on the
was.
pages.
It's a good idea.
Is it in the book that way?
No, there's something I want to bring up maybe at the end that will explain that.
Okay.
But it's like one of the conspiracy theories that.
All right.
Okay.
All
but
all right.
yeah,
Figured that.
does he think he's writing a story? Probably. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I
'Cause it's
always
even
wondered.
broken
Yeah,
up
the
'cause it's
format.
like
Different
yeah,
formattings.
like it's dialogue and different things. And
Yeah.
sorry, I'm
no,
laughing
it's-
because Phil rolled his eyes and it was great.
No, I thought I remember seeing it the first time and thinking that was a pretty cool reveal, and I think it is.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem with the reveal.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if he was typing the same thing, it would just all be line after line after line.
Yeah, there's a
But
couple
like
of
you
pages like
said-
that, but there's other stuff that's
Yeah.
broken
But
up,
it's
yeah.
almost like there is dialogue there.
Yeah,
and-
it's like
no.
it's broken up into their
Yes.
paragraphs.
Reaching out for a catalyst. There is this scene where Jack is typing, and Wendy comes in, and this is the quote that Chris likes. Whether I'm typing or not, you hear
Whether I'm typing or not typing or whatever the fuck you hear me doing in here, it means I'm working.
yeah,
Don't come in here.
get the f out of here,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, that's the sign that's hanging above in my writing room.
Yeah.
I think it's funny shit. Like it was god awful. It's terrible that you say that to somebody and mean it the way he did. But
Yeah.
So whenever Lath and Stacy come into my room when I'm writing to bother me because I have no door, I just playfully point at the sign and go, "Hey, and they ignore it and they laugh and they go on and tell me what they're telling me anyways.
Right.
I did have on that note, just real quick. I actually did some writing this morning. And Lath had come up and was, bothering me with, whatever he was doing. So when this scene played, I was like, see his face? You saw that face this morning, didn't you? And Lath started laughing.
yeah,
We need to get you an axe.
Yeah, right.
Right next to that sign.
Oh, I love it, James. That's wonderful. That's right.
Read the axe.
Read the X. You remember what happened? You fucking remember what happened to these people? Anyhow, terrible. Go ahead. Sorry. Phil.
no, it's fine. I have the catalyst as him, telling her to get the fuck out of there. Now, this is the catalyst for Wendy, I think, because this is Wendy's first experience with something, because she reacts, and you can see her debating in her mind, what do I make of this? Okay.
Yeah, she was even going to bring him lunch, the fucking dick.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So at that point, I'm like, well, whose story is this?
Okay.
It's a catalyst. I think it's a change in behavior markedly for Wendy. And I think she debates this. This is Wendy and Danny's story is what I have written. Here, Wendy debates internally the rock that just got dropped into her pond. Danny debates the issue of room 237 because he's there and he's trying to decide whether he wants to go in. he decides he goes in to room 237 and I guess gets choked or whatever. Because I couldn't find any debate or anything on.
It's got to be right around there because I would peg it if we were going to go for Jack. It's him sitting at the bar taking the drink. Like that's his next moment. Like that's when he gets taken over by the hotel.
And he doesn't debate for a second about taking that drink.
No,
right?
He's had 5 months, 6 months, and a Tuesday of debate.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And a Wednesday and a Saturday and all these other random days that don't mean anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, structure-wise, I have no clue.
No, I don't know that there's.
Yeah, no, I mean, I see what you're saying about the big moment of him deciding to take a drink. Like I have that, but that's like way later to me.
Yeah,
that was like
makes no sense.
Yeah,
midpoint false defeat maybe because that's when he does that right after she. I guess we're jumping ahead a little bit, but right after. Well, I mean, we're almost there. You said he goes to room 23, 237. When Danny comes out, he's all.
Oh yeah,
Jack had this horrible nightmare. And.
Wendy was in the cellar with the boilers.
Yeah, and heard him screaming, and then she goes up there, and then Danny comes, and she's like, "Oh, I'll get him out of here. I'll get him out of the room." And as she gets closer, she realizes he's, damn near catatonic, sucking on his thumb, and his face and shirt are all messed up. And then she accuses Jack because there's nobody else in the damn thing. It had to be Jack, right?
Sure.
I mean, in her mind.
Yeah, right? yeah. She accused him, but there's scenes where Danny's playing and wants to go get his toy, and she's like, "No, don't wake your father." So she is.
That was after the.
Yeah, she is clearly.
Yep,
debating her activity now around.
Sure. Yep, there's 40 other rooms I can be in. I'll be in those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Did y'all not find it funny though, that scene where Jack is sitting there at the bar and he's talking to who was he talking to? Lloyd.
Yeah.
He's talking to Lloyd, and what is her name? Wendy. She runs up and says, "Let's see, I wrote it down. Hold on.
Someone in the hotel.
There's someone.
Yeah.
Are that's trying to strangle Danny?"
Yeah.
And his response was, "Are you out of your mind?"
You out of your fucking mind.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's sitting there talking to Lloyd, who's not there. So
Well, he sees him though.
Yeah. No. Definitely funny. Like I was like, all right, here's a guy.
no,
who's
I'm sitting there
clearly
laughing.
Here's a guy who's clearly crazy, and then he has the nerve to ask her that.
Yeah.
He
What
just had a
struck me, too,
ghost
is-
drink.
So she's completely flipped though. From how could you do this? You son of a bitch! To hey, there's somebody else. There's the
Right.
psycho lady, and not once does she, especially not that this guy necessarily deserves an apology, right? But if you got a guy who's flying off the handle and he's abusive, like you would think she would apologize. Hey, Jack, I'm so sorry. I
Sure.
accused you of attacking our kid again, and some shit. You know what I mean? However that
I'm
goes.
sorry I accused you of doing something entirely in your character.
Right.
I'm just saying, like she never apologizes,
Right.
But
Right.
she's dead convinced that there's this fucking
ghost
crazy
thing.
lady in 237.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Anyhow, just that was weird to me.
We get a 5th title card. It's Thursday now. And it's very short. It's like the snow has come. I only have one line. The snow has come and Jack has gone. I guess at this point he is off his. I don't even remember the whole scene.
This
But
is where he goes to the room? Or are we skipping that? Because he goes to the room.
Yeah, he goes up to the room.
To 2:30.
Or-
He's going to check it out. Yeah, I'll
Have
check
we
it out.
jumped a far too head?
No,
Wow, have
no,
we jumped a far too head?
Jumped apart. Jumped apart
Jeez.
too ahead.
I'm wording today.
No, I mean, we haven't
Jumped
have
too
we-
far ahead. I had to think about it to put the words in order, James.
Far too head.
I don't know.
Stop saying it. I'm going to say it like that now.
Because there wasn't.
You're
'cause
welcome out there.
There's not a lot happening on this 5th. Not a lot happening on Thursday. Like it's a very short. If I remember.
No, man. Saturday was the day when stuff was happening. I'm playing.
Yeah. Well, the 6th title card is Saturday. Jack is typing.
I was joking. Like, okay, cool. The title cards annoyed the shit out of me, so I was just picking a random day. I had one of 7
No,
chances,
the next title card is Saturday. Jack is typing. Wendy gets the ranger station on the radio. She has disregarded. Okay, I wrote, yeah, she has disregarded Jack's previous behavior or has taken a tact of avoidance. Like when Danny wants to get his toys, but Wendy does not want him to disturb Jack. Danny sees the girls again. They speak this time. Come play with us, Danny, or whatever. Forever
How's
and
that go,
ever.
Sher? How's it go?
Forever and ever.
Go stand in the hallway. And
I was
do
gonna
it.
have to
The lights
wait
off.
till the lights are out.
Oh, there was a note on that, real quick. So the girls say, "Come play with us, Danny, forever and ever and ever."
Right.
The forever and ever and ever bit. That's what Jack tells Danny about. I want to stay in this hotel
Oh, yeah.
forever, ever and ever. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Again, goes back to the hotel.
Oh yeah, that
Absorbing
getting
people.
in them
Sure.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
that
Come stay
makes
with
sense.
us.
Because Danny's even asking him, "Hey, Dad, are you happy? Are you?" And oh yeah, I fucking love this place.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody else having a miserable time, but Dad.
Right.
I
I
still
wrote,
not getting any work done.
Danny continues to debate his call, pictures in a book. So I see this is still a debate of Danny and Wendy. So it at that point, I'm leaning toward it being their story in terms of having to deal with this evil. Seventh title card is Monday. Danny is warned about the story. Okay, so this is when,
What happened to Sunday, man?
well, it's Saturday to Monday, man.
Day of rest.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
day of rest. No evil on Sunday. Danny is warned about disturbing
Just day of
Jack.
rest. Bullshit. Sorry.
Got a date on Wednesday, baby. Danny is warned about disturbing Jack, goes to get his toy, speaks with Jack, who can't sleep. There is too much to do. Confesses he loves the hotel, wish they could stay forever.
Yep. Sorry.
So, yeah.
I jumped too far.
And then Danny asks, "You'd never hurt us, would you?"
Did your mom tell you that? Yeah. He starts. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he even says to Lloyd, I would never hurt the little bastard or whatever.
Yeah, right. It was one time, and that the little fucker had my papers all over the place.
I love this.
That's what he called him.
Right. I love the
little
shit out of
fucker
him.
had
Or
my-
I just, all this. But his mother, now
Little fucker had my papers all over the room. That's what he
yeah,
called him.
yeah. But I would never hurt him. All right. I'm
He's a liar, not a good writer, and a bad dad.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here I have the break into two, which
Maybe.
I'm like trying to nail Jello to the wall. Is it the break into two? I don't know. I'm going to call it the break into two. Eighth title card Wednesday. Danny is playing ball in the hall. Danny's playing in the hall. A ball is rolled from nowhere. He thinks he's calling out his mother, mom. This is the door to 237 thing. Open and Danny goes in. Jack is having nightmares. Dreamed he killed Wendy and Danny and chopped them up into little pieces. Wendy to the rescue. She comes. Jack confesses he feels like he is losing. So he has a moment of clarity here where he says he feels like he's losing his mind.
Yeah.
Just for a moment.
No, and that's also to James' point about seducing him. Like even when this man's sleeping,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's
It's an onslaught.
permeating his mind and his dreams, and basically telling him this is what you need to do.
In the book, Danny, his vision, his shining is showing him the things to come.
Yeah.
But when he comes out of his state, he can't remember it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's having nightmares too, but he's waking up going, I can't remember what it is. We're just in horror. So it's spreading around the family, I guess.
Gotcha. Danny appears, but is only Tony now. Jack is so he has a moment of clarity, but then immediately goes into a kind of catatonic state. Jack does. Danny has bruises, and this is when Wendy accuses Jack.
Yeah, that's
who I
when
guess
he goes
then,
for the drinks.
Yeah. Jack goes to the bar and so again, before James brought clarity to this, I was like, okay, well, is this about a character coming back to the hotel? Because he goes to talk and he recognizes Lloyd and Lloyd recognizes him. You were always the best, Lloyd. You were always the best. Past tense, always the best bartender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're talking like,
Yeah, it is weird. Like, I don't know.
But if it's a seduction, then
Yeah, because here's a guy who badly needs a drink, wants
Sure.
a drink, right? And he hasn't had any, and they even make a note of saying there's nothing there earlier, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah, nothing in the whole-
if I'm not late, was even confused about this scene about, hey, is this happening or not? I'm like, no, they showed us there's nothing there.
Right.
Like this, I said, you'll see in a minute when Wendy comes up, she can't see him or whatever.
Right,
Like this, I said, this dude's not even having a drink. I mean, he did all this shit sober.
yes.
You know what I mean?
Under the influence.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, yes. I mean, the psychotic break, but there was no. When they did a toxicology on his body, there was no alcohol in his body, right?
They-
Because there's nothing there for him to drink.
They said again in the book. I
That's
going
not in the
back
show.
to
I'm
it.
just saying.
But when Wendy comes in and Jack has had many drinks by then, she can smell the gin
Oh yeah.
in the room, and he stinks of it.
Really?
So
Still think it's not there. It's the
Well,
hotel.
yeah, the hotel is making him act that way,
Like he thinks
giving
he's
it to him.
drinking. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
But Wendy can smell
Drink up,
alcohol.
sir.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
that's cool.
Okay. Well, in Stephen King's The Shining miniseries, Wendy picks up a bottle of Jack or whatever sitting there and hits him over the head.
Nice.
Yes,
So there's actually a bottle
Instead of
there.
the baseball bat, or she hits him multiple times.
No, she hits him with a bottle of alcohol
yeah.
Cool.
that was sitting there, and it had a note on there. I think it said from the hotel staff
From the
or something.
management, yeah.
Yeah, from the manager. That's what it was, from the management. But she actually picks up a bottle of I forget what kind of alcohol it is, and just
Whatever it is, the hotel is manifesting these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, just like the stuff she sees later on towards the end. Like that's not there, right? I mean,
Yeah, she sees the corpses and anyway.
Yeah, and they struggle with that too because he's all right. Well, they're ghosts. I'm like, okay, yeah, they're ghosts. But remember, Danny got like a shirt ripped in his face actually, so they can interact with you.
Yeah, Lloyd lets or Grady lets him out of the
Correct. Yep,
meat
lets him
locker
out.
room.
Yeah, that's what it was. It relates. I was like, how did he actually get out? Does he actually get out? And I'm like, yeah.
You know,
'Cause
and
they
that-
can interact with you, which is really messed up. You know.
One of the questions I had when watching this is, of course, y'all know I watch a lot of ghost shows and listen to these.
Certified horror
Oh
addict.
my goodness, yes.
And then what he called him?
I don't know, but a lot of these people who have these abilities, like Danny, it actually runs in the family. So my question was always, is Jack, does he have the Shining, or is it the hotel that is doing
I don't
this?
think Jack. I don't think he ever has visions like Danny. I think
No, he
I think he's
doesn't
being seduced,
before.
like James says.
He
Yeah,
doesn't
some
before,
people-
but some people will have psychic abilities,
Yeah.
but they don't open up to it, or they
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah, sure.
you know, and,
I don't
and maybe the hotel
Yeah,
open.
yeah, I hadn't thought about
but
that.
then when
Yeah.
his mother, when Wendy starts seeing things, then I'm like, okay, well, this is just
It's-
a free for all.
Well, I think that's the hotel.
The hotel's gained its strength.
Yeah.
It's drawing like a vampire off of The Shining, and like Dick Halloran has a little bit, so is like pictures in a book, but Danny is like a nuclear grade
Yeah.
weapon, like that much power. So the hotel's really coming alive. But I don't know.
Well, anyway, moving into if that's fun and games, right? Dick in Miami. Dick really likes his artwork. Did you?
Oh, and the lights coming down, they shape like boobs too, man.
Oh, I didn't see the lights.
Well, yeah.
I noticed the poster above the TV and the one above his
Sure.
bed. I'm like, lights, of course, noticed it too or whatever. And he commented about the lady's hair. I'm like, he said, "Oh, that's some big hair." I'm like, "That's the only thing you saw." That's
He
what
wasn't
you want to
talking
say,
about.
son?
He wasn't talking about
And
the
he
hair
goes,
up top.
He goes, and other things.
There is
But,
much made of sexual imagery in The Shining. I mean, you can watch these documentaries, and oh my god! But
Yeah, I didn't understand it. Like,
right, well,
for Dick.
yeah, I don't know. Like, why would he?
Like a porno mag on the nightstand if he's single, like cool, but just have it. Which okay, you want a poster, fine, have a poster, but it just
it
those
just
weren't even
seems,
posters, those were like paintings.
He was
Very
in
gratuitous.
Florida. He was having a good time.
No,
it was
it's-
80
yeah, look like he was
degrees.
having a
He
good
doesn't like
time.
snow. He's down there to just work a little and have a good
It
time.
didn't
Well-
strike you as weird though.
No.
Okay.
I caught it in when Danny goes into room 237.
Yeah.
The pattern on the carpet
Mhm.
is very phallic.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't
To the
notice.
point where it's almost unmistakable as that. You know,
Nice.
Sure.
the pattern. It's looped patterns.
Yeah.
Anyway,
With
and that's probably Kubrick. I'm sure he thought that was just the greatest thing. I don't know what it means.
like the carpet looked like dicks. It'll be really artsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack investigates. So this is where Jack investigates room 237 for Wendy and gets what I put down. He gets catfished, right? So he's
Yeah, he does.
big time, right? So,
Yep.
and then at this point, I was
She even came out of the water. I like it.
yeah. At this point, I was getting slap happy because Jack gets catfished. Dick
Yeah,
after
I caught that too. Got slap happy from the girl coming out of the tub.
well, in my notes, I started just
Yeah.
At this point, I'm off the rails. So Dick with his pictures on the wall, he makes a call, and I said, Dick gets callus interruptus. He can't make
Call us interruptus.
he can't get the hotel on the line, right? So, Danny must have made it up. Jack claims he didn't see a thing in room 237.
Yeah, and Danny's trying to call Dick in Florida with his Shining.
mind.
Yes, because
with
Dick
his
has his vision.
Yeah, because he's that. Danny is that powerful
Yes.
to reach that far.
Danny has more visions. Jack is angrier, not going to let Wendy fuck it up. At this point, he goes to a party, free drinks from Lloyd, and a word with Grady, who has no recollection of killing his family, informs Jack he is the caretaker and always been the caretaker. And then the two discuss correcting Wendy, and there's this discussion of correcting the family. And
Right.
Yeah. Well, because he has no recollection at first, right? You've always been the caretaker, sir, and then he reveals that. I think at that moment is when Lath realized, oh shit, that's the girls, and this is the guy. And like it was very funny that he had just cut on at that point. He also had Lath had an interesting note. He's like, they're in like Target's bathroom. Like it's all red and white, and like it's like that's what he called it. I'm like, because it was kind of it was a weird bathroom.
Well, it's very, and
I feel like it didn't match the room for some reason, the ballroom. I don't know why.
I'm sure that the red walls and white meant something. Kubrick could probably, I don't know. Wendy is making plans to leave, and then Tony, or I put Danny/Tony because he's mostly Tony, coming up. Starts his red rum kick. Yeah. Dick gets no answer from the Overlook. Ninth title card, possible break into 3. Here, again, just trying to nail it down. Dick flies to Colorado. Jack is typing, and Dick's plane comes in for a landing. Wendy goes around with a bat now, like she's going around armed at this point.
Right.
Looking for Jack. She discovers that Jack's writing is a bit repetitive. right? All works.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess that even to structure.
Oh, it's 8 a.m. by the way. The title card was 8 a.m. So that,
thanks for
I
clarifying.
really, I thought it was 9, so I'm glad I missed it.
Yeah. 8 a.m.
What bothered me, just structure wise, so he has the big scene with Grady in the Target bathroom,
Yeah.
and talks about corrections that need to be made,
Yes.
right, and how they could foil all his plans, and he's not going to let Wendy fuck it up, right?
Yeah.
But then he goes back to typing. Like it'd been a while since I'd seen this, and I was thinking, all right, well, here's the next scene when he starts trying to chase him and attack him and kill him and all that. Nope, back to typing.
Yeah.
Just like, cause she's got to put him in the freezer first. So they're just weird. Like,
Yeah.
I'll correct it. Then I'm go back to writing. So, and maybe that's him fighting against the hotel or something, But
do know
we
that-
didn't see that,
Kubrick was changing the script constantly.
Yeah,
It got to the point where Jack Nicholson even said he didn't
know what the fuck was
Until
going
he
on.
didn't even read it until I guess it was time or whatever.
That sounds totally like a douche thing to do, and yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it's Kubrick.
I'm
man.
smarter today than I was yesterday, so let me make pages. I mean, I'm sure that's got to. As an actor, you're preparing for a role, and you've taken the time to get these lines, and and then you get page changes, because Kubrick wants to,
Yeah, no, I can totally see Jack. Well, I'll tell you what, you give me these fucking night before, and I'll be ready tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go down the road and be ready. Yeah, I'll be ready in 2 weeks. No, fuck that.
Oh my god. Jack may not have.
Maybe he was picturing Kubrick like the whole time, like his face and what he was wanting to kill,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It
cut
says
you up into little pieces. He was really talking to Kubrick,
Yeah.
the script was allegedly changed so many times during production, even a couple of times a day, that Jack Nicholson simply stopped reading it.
Yeah. What's the point? Here I wrote, Jack may not have a hit on his hands, but Wendy gets one with her hands, knocks him on the ground with her bat. Jack is dragged to the food locker. Jack has been busy, though. You're not going anywhere. He has disabled the snowcat.
And the radio.
And the radio, yes.
I do like the shot of like from the floor.
Oh,
up,
yeah,
looking
no,
at him,
absolutely.
Like when he's in there and windy, and like that was really
No, that was
I like
good.
that.
10th title card. It's 4 p.m.
Same day?
Apparently,
Oh.
I guess. 8 a.m.
That's the only one. I'll take it back. That one maybe makes sense because I think it cuts back to him being in the freezer. And
Sure.
if he went in the freezer on Tuesday and then we're cutting down to fucking
Well, it's not
Saturday,
even a freezer.
he's
It's
going to be dead.
I think it's just a
Pantry. Locked
pantry because there's no ice in there. It's just.
No, it's a big
It's a-
door.
It's a cooled pantry.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, but it's not a freezer.
No, it's not the freezer, it's the pantry.
Because he's like, yeah.
Because he's got peanut butter in the.
Yeah, he's eating,
And
he's
one.
eating
You're
peanut
right.
butter and
Okay.
crackers.
Well, then it doesn't even matter. They could have gone from Tuesday to Saturday. I was going to say if they go to
got plenty of
Saturday,
food in there.
he's looking like he did at the end, being frozen. But yeah, I thought it was a freezer. That's how much I was paying attention because it's a big door, like a freezer.
Well, I kept thinking that too, but
you're
then-
right. The peanut
then I
butter and all that.
noticed
Yeah, it's
It's
whenever.
just climate controlled, humidity controlled.
Yeah, so he's all right.
Huh.
Grady visits Jack, doubts his abilities. I and the others. Harshest possible way is recommended now.
Is that what it says?
Yeah, Grady
Missed that.
says they must be dealt with in the harshest possible way. Jack says he's up to it. Grady releases Jack. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, because Stephen King is a workaday writer, but I think he does draw upon some of his favorite things and puts them in books, right? This scene was it reminded me a great deal of The Stand when Flagg releases Lloyd from prison. Here, Jack says he's up to it. Grady releases Jack, reminiscent of Flagg releasing Lloyd from the cell in The Stand. You make a deal and I'll let you out.
Sure.
So did King sort of draw on that again? Maybe. I mean, it could be. I think it
Yeah, or
works.
just the same guy wrote it, so there's going to be similarities.
That's
in
what I'm saying.
there,
Yeah, you have favorite things or whatever. Break into 3. Dick drives to the Overlook. The whole "Here's Johnny" scene, which is very famous. And then I wrote, Dick comes a long
That
way.
is a Johnny Carson reference, correct?
Yeah. Ed McMahon would say, "Here's Johnny."
Yeah, because the curtains would part and then
Yeah.
Johnny
Yes,
comes out.
right.
That's what I explained to Lath because I felt fairly certain, but I wanted to make sure I asked
The
you
guy
guys.
before
'Cause
Jimmy
Lath didn't get it.
Fallon.
Lath was like, "Why was he? His name's Jack. Why does he say here's Johnny?" I'm like, "Well, it's Johnny Carson," and then explained it. It's Johnny
Yeah, the
Carson.
guy before Jimmy Fallon, the guy before Jay Leno was Johnny Carson.
Carson, correct. Yeah, no, I've seen him, but I didn't. I wanted to make sure that here's Johnny was a Johnny Carson's
Yes.
Carson reference.
Well,
not
in
something else.
1980, it would have been recognized immediately.
Easily
Yeah,
recognizable.
yeah.
Yeah, Dick gets a hatchet to the side or the head. or
Yeah,
something,
right in
and he's
the
out.
right in the stump, right in the
Yeah.
sternum, and he's out. All that way.
All that travel just I mean, he was a distraction. He pulled Jack away from Wendy.
Sure.
So I guess he bought him some time.
And-
Sherry's got it. Sherry's got it. We talked about it
And
earlier.
that is how they escaped. They when Jack kept saying something about the whatever they called it, the cat or
Snow
whatever,
cat.
the snow cat, and he had destroyed it where they couldn't escape. It's almost like a horrible feeling. It's like, okay, we're doomed because
Yeah.
there's no way, no one's coming to get us. But then shows up Dick with the other snowmobile,
Just okay.
and that's their escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I was irritated. I was like, he got on a plane, he drove out of the way and did nothing. He died.
He delivered a snow cat.
And then, Sherry goes, no, but he delivered it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll shut the hell up then. 'Cause, yeah.
Wendy starts seeing visions, and again, at this point, I'm just looking for jokes. She sees this weird scene in the hotel, and I put, you won't remember this. There was a show called BJ and the Bear.
Well, that's what we saw.
A long time, yeah. And so I was like, what is this BJ and the Bear? Because there's a guy in a bear costume.
My note says
Oh,
bear
wow.
bear ass.
BJ and a bear. Wow.
Yeah, BJ and the Bear was a story about a truck driver who had a chimp as a partner, and they would,
Thanks for ruining that.
My note was says bear ass, but bear the animal and then ass.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause-
BJ and the Bear, not the 1978.
yeah,
truck
what the
driver.
fuck? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Like, why do we got to see that? What's
Well,
not what's going on there, but why? Why are we seeing that?
Kubrick likes
Art.
nasty bits. That's fine. That's who doesn't like a nasty bit. Maze chase. Did Danny memorize the path of the maze? I think he probably was smart, and I think he's a gifted kid. He probably did. Cobwebs and corpses. Blood elevator. So Wendy sees the blood elevator that Danny had seen. The blood pouring out of the
Blood
elevator.
usually gets off on the 3rd floor, but this time it hit the ground floor.
That's right.
Well, I mean, I thought the blood came on Tuesday, and now it's
Yeah.
coming on
Wendy
fucking
sees it-
Saturday, and
Wendy sees it also.
yeah, everybody saw it like 1,000
gets
times. They
visions
cut to
of-
it 1,000 times.
Yeah, Wendy gets a vision of her own. I put poor Dick is limp. He gets killed. Sorry.
Terrible.
Terrible joke. Jack,
I like it.
Jack gets cold. He's
I like
he's running around the maze and is lost too. He's getting colder and colder. Danny exits the maze, reunites with Wendy. They have a new snowcat and they drive away. Final image, Jack in a photo from 1921. You have always been here.
Oh, you forgot him being frozen.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
gets lost
Yeah,
in the
he-
maze and he's frozen like a popsicle.
Frozen like a popsicle, yeah.
So late to Ready Player One. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we watched it at movie night one time.
Okay, thank you for the reminder.
long time ago.
That's I guess like probably the most that Lath knew about this movie.
Oh.
So like a lot of the imagery from that movie where they go into the Shining universe or whatever in
Oh,
Ready
okay.
Player One, like he remembered some of that, like the blood, because the characters in the Ready Player One actually get caught up, like and they're floating in the blood.
Oh,
and-
it's been a long time.
And then somehow the old lady ends up with the axe out in the maze down in Ready
yeah.
Player One. But anyhow, like Lath was connecting the dots there.
Well,
But
did he see Twister? Because the girls are in Twister.
those same girls are.
And the
Yeah.
drive-in.
Oh,
when
on
the
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 screen.
drive-in.
and the scene of Jack.
yeah. He'd seen it, but yeah, I don't guess he probably
That's-
didn't put it together.
That's
So-
the scariest scene to me of Twister, not because of the girls, but because it's in the dark. You see
Oh yeah.
tornado coming.
So I'm gonna ruin with the conspiracy theory about The Shining. See if this changes your mind on it.
All right.
All of this is in Wendy's head.
Yeah, so I didn't read that theory. I heard that, but I haven't.
Wendy
read,
has
like,
lost
that.
her mind. She's having
Oh,
a
yeah?
schizophrenic episode.
From the
And,
moment we see her, like even Danny brushing his teeth, or after that.
when they get to the hotel, she
She
starts
has
to
a
have a
break,
psychotic break.
Interesting.
So that's why, when Jack loses it at her, and then he's back to normal, just typing away on his type, she's imagining all these
yeah.
crazy things happening.
What is the foundation of that theory? Like, or is that just?
It's essentially the edits of the movie.
Oh yeah.
There are light switches in places, and then they're not there. And the next time you see them, there's
Oh.
light fixtures that are there. And they're not there the first time you see that area. Then they're there the second
Yeah.
time. There's all kinds of little things in the background that move. There's chairs that are there in one scene, and then when the camera turns back to Jack Nicholson, that chair's not there. And this is Stanley Kubrick.
You're right.
He doesn't make mistakes, quote unquote. So people have come up with a theory that it's all in Wendy's mind. She's the one that choked Danny. She's the one causing all the issues, but it's all in her head.
Yeah.
And Jack's trying
I've
to
never heard that.
be in a remote hotel alone with a person have a psychotic break.
Yeah, and I've seen movies that.
How much you want to put in that, I don't know.
Well, I've seen movies that have pulled that. There was a
Shutter Island and
sure, and then there was a Jack Cusack was
Identity.
John?
Identity.
Identity.
John
Was-
Cusack, yeah.
Well, I thought was very very clever.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do that, do it.
Oh, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying is if you have to fill in the blanks with something like that, you don't have the movie you think you do.
Right. I thought Identity and Shutter Island are really enjoyable, and I enjoy the twist, and even I See Dead People. What's the name of that movie? Sixth Sense. Right. Oh my God, a neck breaker twist at the end, right? I mean, and it's done brilliantly, but the audience is rewarded with that knowledge at the end. Here, if that's even the case, you're never given. Yeah. And I guess it's too artsy to actually tell the audience at the end that this is what's happened. I don't know.
Sure.
I guess I much prefer. I like those kind of things, but do them. I mean, I
don't mind a movie that has a bit of an ambiguous ending, and I got to think about it a little bit, and keeps me thinking about it. But yeah, this, if the winning thing is true, he missed the mark. I don't think that's. I guess I don't. Yeah, because leaving if you change the script, 8 times a day or whatever it was.
Oh yeah. Then he didn't have a plan.
He didn't have a plan, which explains light fixtures, and who's to say he's not changing the set 8 times a day too, right? He didn't have a plan. So, and we know how movies work with the coverage and all that. That's why shit moves, right? That's why there's continuity errors, anyways, because they shoot all these things over and over and over, and shit gets moved.
If you're changing it every day or so many times that your actors stop reading, you've lost the confidence of your actors, and 2, who does that? That is not a way. If you're artistic, that's fine. You have an artistic vision, that's great. But changing it every day.
I mean, this thing gets made a couple years later with Val Kilmer in the main role. This movie's not going to get finished. Yeah, he's going to walk out.
Changing. Yeah, that to me is just flying by the seat of your pants, and you don't have a plan, even as an artist. Whatever. Anyway, that's The Shining. Any closing thoughts or any other?
No. I think we spilled it all out.
So pass, recommend, consider. There was a time when I would have recommended this movie. Now I think if you just want to see the best parts, just go to YouTube and watch Jack Nicholson's several scenes and be done. Watch it once, okay, fine, but I in good conscience cannot recommend it as a movie that is really worth your time at this point. Not when there's YouTube and clips.
I would say you at least got to watch it once, so you can watch Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
Because Dr. Sleep is a tremendous movie.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend that one. This one, I'm probably not going to watch it very much anymore, but it's worth a one watch at least.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think if you're looking for, checking off classics on your list, or you're checking off horror movies, then watch it. But if it's, outside of that, it's not a movie that to me holds up, and there's a lot of value for multiple viewings.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. This was my pick. I've only seen it a couple of times. I never bought it until just now because I don't prefer that over Stephen King's version of The Shining, the miniseries. But I do recommend watching The Shining if you want to see a haunted house horror movie, whatever. Like you said, it's a classic. Yes,
it's a classic because Kubrick heads make it a classic.
Well, and all right, Jack Nicholson's performance. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Watch it. All right. So.
Okay.
However, in the actor's studio, if you're one of those types, then yes, Jack Nicholson is the only redeeming thing I think about this movie.
But you're not going to this movie for the story.
No.
Is what we're saying.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah. Okay. But if you're a fan of Stephen King and you want to see, what he intended from his book. I haven't read his book, but from what I understand, the Stephen King TV series version is more like it. It is 3-disc basically, because it was a 3-night, 2-hour each night series.
Yeah.
It does actually take place and is filmed in the Stanley Hotel, which is where Stephen King got the inspiration for the movie. He stayed there.
Yeah.
It's on my bucket list to visit.
Oh, y'all never been there?
No.
Been there.
Oh, cool. My goodness.
To the Stanley or the
Stanley.
Okay.
Overlook, I don't think
the Overlook is in Oregon or somewhere.
Too, though, right?
No, the Overlook is in Oregon or something, and the outside shots, they only filmed there, but they filmed the Shining movie
Studio.
in
England.
London
England or something.
nice. Okay.
So it wasn't.
Okay.
There is really a hotel like that, and they built a set like the one in Stanley Kubrick's, but that's in a different state.
Gotcha. I think I'm confusing the real one. I guess the
Yeah.
Stanley.
The
with
Stanley
the
is
movie. I think
in
I was combining them
Colorado.
in my
Yeah,
head.
the Stanley, we went on a ghost tour there.
That's really
and
cool.
good news for Philip. They have a channel on their TV that plays The Shining 24/7.
Oh my god,
I heard that.
So,
I did
that's
hear that.
crazy.
yeah.
and there are. I just listened to one podcast. Let me see what the name of it. The Haunted Road with Amy Bruni. Another podcast / ghost show that I watch. Anyway, she just did last week an episode about the Stanley Hotel. So all kinds of information about that. But I mean, watch them both.
Yeah, I mean, I might go so far as consider.
Well,
You know,
if you like haunted movies or haunted house, there's a lot more ghost, I think, in Stephen King's version.
Sure.
To me, it's more fun.
Yeah.
Not as bad language like in the other one.
Yeah.
So,
I think.
Less pornographic paintings.
oh my,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and all that's Kubrick, and symbolism, and I don't know what. I think King is by far the more competent storyteller. So if you're looking for a competent story, Stephen King's The Shining
Oh, yeah.
as a competent storyteller is far superior to.
In the book, let me ask you right quick, since y'all have read the book, did the book end like this movie ends with the boiler blowing up, but Danny actually encouraged his father to let it blow up? Did it do that? Did they do that?
His father
remember?
winds up being a hero because
He ends
Yeah.
up being a hero.
That's the thing. In the book, he kind of comes out of it a little
Yeah.
bit and was like, I gotta.
he destroys
Go.
the hotel and the ghost to
Yeah, he
let Danny and them get
destroys
away.
everything, and then it ends with and Dick lives.
Yeah.
And attends his high school. It ends with the high school graduation, I think it is, with Danny in the movie.
Yeah, and it turns out, I don't know if it's in the movie or not, but in the book, Tony is Danny 10 years in the future.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
And this one movie
that's
does
how.
it.
so.
And like I said, I haven't read it, so I was hoping that's how it was.
If that's the
but
way it is, that the
Yeah.
Stephen King's The Shining miniseries is a lot closer
Very
to the
faithful,
book.
yeah.
Well, Stephen King's in it, and he wrote.
And he must approve it.
He wrote, yeah,
Yeah.
He's in all
and
his stuff.
but yeah, that was one thing because a lot of times I have a problem with how Stephen King ends his stories, but this one I thought that has to be one of the best endings if his father is actually the hero.
Yeah,
And
it's a good.
Yeah, that's how
the
it ends.
story.
Is Jack Torrance is the hero? He goes down there and is with it when it explodes.
Yeah.
to save
Yeah.
his family.
Yeah, and that to me, like in the Dr. Sleep book, like I said, the sequel is great. And obviously, one of the biggest differences from the movie Dr. Sleep and the book is the hotel does blow up in the book world, so he can't go back to it.
right.
Where in the movie, he as a grown man, Danny goes back to
Oh,
it. And I
like
thought that was one of the things that was really, really cool that they, like in hindsight, them deciding not to blow it up in
Sure.
the movie, like being able to
Yeah.
for a movie wise, having that iconic,
Yeah, and Dr. Sleep, the book,
scenery
they
and
go
stuff
back to
again.
the site of the hotel that it exploded.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So-
not the same. Like he's walking around the same halls, and
Yeah, in
looking
the
at,
movie,
in the
it's
movie he's walking around the same halls, looking at the door that has red rum and the hole in it from the axe, like all of
Oh.
that stuff.
Oh.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll have to check
Well,
it out.
I'm gonna go back and watch Stanley Kubrick's Shining then, and then I'm gonna rent.
Dr. Sleep.
Yes.
You're gonna like Dr. Sleep a lot.
All right. I'll check it out.
Yeah, so
All right.
But yeah, I guess consider was the word, Phil. Yeah, consider it if you're looking for classics or a horror. But
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. That is the Shining.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah. So enjoy this in October. All right. We are out.
the rift started between Stephen King and Stanley Kubrick almost immediately.
Yeah. And what I like are about 4 scenes from Jack Nicholson.
Where he just seems kind of like a down and out loser a little bit.
And if you're a writer and you think there's such a thing as writer's block, then you're full of shit. Okay? It's a blue collar, grinded out story, and Stephen King doesn't F around, right?
Sure, right.
A twisty ride that's going to go off the rails. Well, I'm sure it's artistic and you just don't get it.
Yep.
Yeah, we're all going to have a real good time.
I'm gonna murder my family to be a famous author.
He is going to resist the 3-act structure.
Come play with us, Dan.
Yeah, whatever.
Nice.
No evil on Sunday.
You know,
Kubrick was changing the script constantly. The script was allegedly changed so many times during production, even a couple of times a day, that Jack Nicholson simply stopped reading it.
Yeah. What's the point?